This is day 656 of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. This week's Arukh HaShulchan Yomi is sponsored for Schus for Banei Chai Umizone for Yerson Ezra and Chana Feigl. If you'd like to sponsor upcoming Shir more of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi, please contact me directly. It would be very greatly appreciated. Today we're doing Siman Shin Pei Vav, Yud Aleph, to Shin Pei Zayin, Yud Beis. I just have my Arukh HaShulchan here. What do I do with it? Yud Aleph. Klal Shudavar. Kol davar shekin lafes supposed to pass. Anything which you use in order to accompany bread, shiur lafes supposed to pass. The shiur is enough to accompany pass the nechel shtei sudas bread which is eaten for 2 meals. Kol shem lafetim supposed to pass. Anything which you don't use to accompany bread, shiur k'lei men about small shtei sudas. It's enough to eat from it itself 2 meals. But basal chai raw meat lo ave lift on. It's not considered to be an accompaniment. That's you have to have 2 meals worth of raw meat. Although interesting choice. Certainly won't last more than 1 Shabbos. But sleeve have a lift on, but roast meat is a accompaniment. It's enough that much less than enough which would accompany bread for 2 meals. I feel the comes from below pass. Even if there's a place where because there's so much meat, they eat it without bread, but called Adam. We don't take that into account. By them, the shear is enough to eat meat for 2 meals. The Havakolim ain't okay, but the rest of the world is not like that. So what he's saying here is that when you have a place where they eat meat like tzli, the roasted meat, normally without bread, you can still use the amount of tzli, which is normally eaten with bread. So that's a kula. That's a little bit of a structure, a little bit confusing. Vinegar is also an accompaniment. The sure today the top of the extra stay so it's enough in order to dip vegetables of 2 meals. The cooked wine is a lift on. Ain't a lift on, but uncooked wine is not a lift on. Even though we use them basically the same today, back then, yain mavushal is considered to be a condiment, not an actual, not even though it made a pergofen on it, but a condiment, not really a drink in of itself. All other beverages also not considered to be lift on. They said that even though it's not quite a lift on, which is interesting. Even though it just said yain mushav lift on, not precisely lift on, but rather suda comes as a dessert. Not to dip. So it's an amount of booked wine you bring for a dessert for 2 meals. We don't understand. We don't know anything about this. Wine is not prevalent by us, and certainly don't use wine for even as a vushal for dessert. And also several other shirim we don't know what they are about. Which the Buddha says that yain mavushal is also enough to be a lefes for two lift them for two sudos. Some say it's enough to bring enough for a dessert for 2 sudos, but most of the poskim don't hold that way. In other words, most of the poskim don't pass on the shulchan according to Mishnah Berurah, but it's not relevant. It's funny that we don't use yain mavushal in that way anymore. But it's interesting that the shear for dessert is a smaller shear than the shear which you need for lift on. Your base. We don't. You can use food for shita, even if it's not suitable for him. If it's suitable for anybody. Go to nazir behind. Such as for nazir, we can make a shita with wine. The sober truma for Yisrael can make a shita with truma. Somebody also took a neder not to eat certain food, or took a shvur that he won't eat it. You start the boat, you can use it for a shita. When it's time to see shin samva, see if you die. They will cut saves on yourself. You up by an eruv. Sometimes all you do the nether or shvur that you're not going to eat it. I mean, another shul shlo enami meno. We take another shul that you're not going to derive any benefit from it. Amish tafin laba. You can't use it for shita v'chedim by b'chatzes. You also can't use it for the eruv. If I have a god that b'tchumin mutzvah, even though by eruv tchum we're going to see that's permissible to use it. Some nation in tchumin bar mitzvah. It's because eruv tchum is really only supposed to be bar mitzvah, which causes them saying tough test vav. Have eruv shita v'avagav the gam zem says mitzvah, but even though it's also somewhat love a mitzvah, you come nevertheless, there's a reshus, it's optional. The Yeshkas with those who say the mutter and the shlokim le'esor ba'ana el derech hanoso, like the Erushitu. Basically, it's kind of like mitzvah lav excuse me, mitzvah lav nitnu. You didn't have mind when you were aser upon yourself. That you also to use for Erev Shituf. The Shabbat writes on this, the Lashon B'chaber, it's mashma that, according to the first opinion, even when you said not going to write benefit, you're also allowed to make a Erev Shituf with it. But so Rachmanim say no, that if you said Aser, Beneder, or Shvua, explicitly it doesn't work, so basically go either way. Rabbeinu Amar, Kostab B'siv Ches, L'tiv Rabbeinu B'Yosef, Shoesim Noder, Nishma Shlonena, Kostab B'Sei Lashon. Whatever the B'Yosef means is what the Ramah writes. We said konam, a benefit upon me. Everybody agrees you can't use it. Also, he doesn't mean the konam it doesn't mean konam is more severe than I won't derive benefit. But this is what it means to say. When I says I won't derive benefit, here's lokim matiyarim that those who argue and pray to come up with chumin, like by tchum. Interesting. If you look at neder or shvua, it's not yet doing hekdesh. Use the language of kainam, which is Russian, which is parallels hekdesh. It's like hekdesh, and you're not allowed to use it at all. So that's the Torah. That is the opinion of the Torah. The Rambam gam kainam mutar b'tchumin. The Rambam even said kainam is permitted to use for erev tchumin. Misha sovet erev shil dam b'tchumin gam kainam mutar. So therefore, those who draw parallels say it's also mutar by erev and by shituv. He says the brackets here, I mug Abram Shambar Amak Itzer Kidarko. I wrote too briefly about this, I guess, so it's somewhat unclear. Not too briefly, say about the Ramah. Go briefly. The Mishnah writes about the Ramah. The reason is even though by a stam netter from where you refrain from eating, it's permissible. He said language of kainam. Even you said explicitly kainam from eating, not from anah. You can't be mishtah because it's lashon korban. In terms of the din, it says it's looking to be halacha. He says that several Achronim were unclear about this. In terms of the din, according to the conclusion of Achronim, there's no chiluk ben kainam or neder, only according to the Taisus. So that's what Ramah says. It's not meduyak, and not everybody agrees that kainam is aser. You might have said so. Therefore, he says at the very least, if he said kainam achilaso, not kainam hanoaso, then he could still make an error with it. Hopefully, this case never comes up as manazeh. You give Amar Kikar Erev Shabbos. Somebody said about a loaf of bread on Erev Shabbos. Kikar Zeha Yom Chol. Today, this loaf is bread. L'macha Kodesh, but tomorrow it should be Hekdesh. You start for use it for Shita for Chem Koinam. Even if you said Koinam, I feel him Oyser Koinam. Even Koinam also say the Koinam is Oyser. Amar Kikar Zeha Yom Koinam. So today it's Koinam Ani Mimenu. Now that's the right benefit for it. As a Koinam, L'macha Chol tomorrow should be permitted. And we start for Laman the Osar. You can't use it for those for shitav according to opinions that aser lashon of kainam. Kainam ayom yeh hekdesh. Also, you said today it's hekdesh l'machia b'chula moshe leisi. The march be redeemed on money I have in my house. Also no good. By time because the reason is the name is the makinis erevu beinosh mashos. The time native has to be acquired as beinosh mashos with suffix yom suffix laila, which is twilight. Not clear of day, not clear of night. He said today it's Chol Machar Kodesh. Today it's okay, and tomorrow it's going to be holy. She gives man Knesset Eruv. When the time that creator is supposed to acquire, Akati lo naflo kushim misveka. It's still suffix if it's Kodesh. So therefore we have a chazaka, an assumption that it's not Kodesh. On the other hand, by Yom Kodesh Machar Chol, we say today it's holy. Tomorrow it should be Chol. The kedusha can't be removed based on the suffix, and maybe the twilight is like night. Because every chazaka, we go every suffix, you go by the chazaka of what it was before the suffix. And the order of the sheet to say the sheet because he's bar b'simin shin tzadik hey. The Sharatim says that ben hashmashos, it's not hektish at all. If you say hektish tomorrow, you'll have to eat it. Seems that's what the Rashba says. Chavar's mashal, however, that in terms of hektish, it's hektish suffix, and you cannot eat it. In terms of A, which is the Rabbanon, we're relying the chazaka that it is the previous day's status. He says that is also the Baal Tanya says. Yudal chatzar pasuach l'shnei mavos. You have a chatzar zone to two streets. And the shittim im kol achameim make two shitufim as it's permitted to do so. For Rabbi Yochel to become closest, we have said several times, a person can live in two different places. And mutter and kol achameim is permitting each one of them talking about their chatzar l'shnei mavos to take. Well, they are mutter. It's a chatzar. They're allowed to carry from their chatzar to the two mavos. Mavos about them shul chatzar and vice versa. But they can't carry kalim which were in the house of Mavli A, except their own house, on Erev Shabbos to Mavli B. Mavli Achad their Chotzer to their Chotzer. I will claim their kalim but to love them Chotzer Zeh. They can bring them to the Chotzer Zeh. Either one, of course. Not consider them because they're going to be lots of kalim in the Chotzer. They're all going to mix together. After Kluve, it's going to come to get mixed up, to switch. The Taltel clean Mavli Zeh, take the vessel in this Mavli, Mavli Achad to the other Mavli. Look, Hashina, we're not concerned with that. We don't make such a decree by Chatzeros. It wasn't married with both of them, nor with either one of them. When each Mavli made air for itself and didn't include this Chatzer in the middle. Let's say, if he goes out, the people these Chatzer go in both Mavos on weekdays, Mel does such name. The answers are both of them. Like the inner yard and outer yard. That the inner yard forbids the outer yard. They choose to swallow because of their right of access. Here's the shayla. There's the question. Why don't we say here the regular muteres mekayma, the access which remains in its place, presumably the air that Chatzer made its own Arukh HaShulchan internally, so it's mutter in its place. But there ain't no such shlam mekayma. It's an answer, and either them avos. Regular muteres mekayma ain't no such shlam mekayma. Masham, yeshlo I can say the same Chatzer Chatzer. That's what Chatzer to another Chatzer. The little came of the yeshlo Chatzer muteres mekayma. Since he has his own Chatzer, which is mutter, any Chatzer over there Chalel. He can't answer the Chatzer to which he passes. Yeshlo Chatzer shlo, he's got his own Chatzer. It's like midas stone. Limit your usage to your Chatzer, and don't ask for another Chatzer. Avo es a Mavli osa, but the Mavli does answer. Abishu mutter in Koimo, even though it's mutter in its place, the Chatzer in the yard, they ain't in a Mavli. That doesn't help for the Mavli. The Chatzer tzarich Mavli because everybody who's in the Chatzer needs the Mavli and Seir, since he's also been Koimo, meaning he can't use the they didn't make an eruv in the Chatzer. They didn't make an eruv. Sorry, they didn't make an eruv between. There's no eruv here in the Chatzer, so therefore it's also mekaymo. It also asks the Mavli which it would use to get in and out. Tesvav imu roglim echad. It's normally it uses one of the mavos. They use one of the mavos. The Masheni eno roglim doesn't usually use the other one. Also shrog, also the one which it normally goes is also sheni b'chol eno roglim, which is not roglim eno, so it doesn't answer. Achzel shot the shitev cloud. That's the main part. Doesn't shitev at all. And when shitev im she'eno rogil, the rogil lo shitev. But if we made a shitev with the one which is not normally accustomed to go through, and didn't make a shitev with the other one, hutar rogil atzmo, the one which is rogil, which is not part of shitev, is mutter in itself. Shak atzmo, because this chutz uprooted itself. Mashishti machin, that which is mishakti with the other one. Koshkin certainly mahayo rogil mishneim. It was rogel with both of them. Mishitevim echad, and made a shield with one of them. The hutar sheni. The second was mutar shayisilik atzim because it is removed from it. Video over acher. It was in a different manner. The hainu lo shulo shitev loyim zeh. Didn't make a shield with either one. V'amavi shu rogel bo shitfu beinehem. But the mavi, which they normally go through, made their own independent shituf. The yellow regular lamb, if it has the right to go through them, the kalka lohem shituf is going to ruin the shituf. She also lamb. It's going to forbid upon them. I think I made a mistake before. I knew Dalit. Even the middle chutzner made an eruv to itself. It's still considered to be also in the mavli. So therefore, it is the mavli that it has access to. So I said before, the middle chutzner didn't make an eruv. Even it made an eruv internally, it's still going to answer the mavos. So back to this again. If it didn't make either sheet or one of them has regel, it's going on them. It has Jesus regel, it's going to forbid them. The sheet was not going to work. So it has one which is rogil. They made a sheet without it. There's one which is not rogil. They didn't make a sheet at all. So then we push. So the chutz is related to them. That movie, legim kilka won't be ruinous. They didn't make a shituf anyway amongst themselves. The Shabbos we push them by the one which they're not normal to be affiliated with. Not to ruin the one which they're normally affiliated with. You're going to take Kofin Miyastom. In such case, we're Kofin Miyastom. That's why the people and the one movie will be nana, and he's not chaser anything. He's not affiliated with the one with which he's normally affiliated. I keep saying he, they. Shin Pei Zayin. Shetzrichim Shneim Erev Shituf. You need both. Erev and Shituf. For Erev Shituf Kavan Achastem. And Erev Shituf has the same purpose. They Mechaber Kol Yosh Chatzer. They connects to the people in the Chatzer. But Shituf Mechaber Kol Yosh Mavi. The Shituf connects to the people in Mavi. V'din Echolem, the same halacha. K'mosh K'sam V'sim Nakoydim. El Shenoch Lakim Shteinu. And there are two differences. B'mahu Sa'iruv, in the essence of the Erev. Sheb'chatzei Marmi Lapas. Erev Chatzer requires bread. But Mavi Av Yayin B'chol Dover. Shituf can be used by wine and anything else. And also where the Erev is placed. The Erev is placed. Sheb'chatzei Mnicha Mosa B'bai Sheb'chatzei. In the Chatzer, you only put it in the house, in the Chatzer. Mavi Nechosah Ap'chatzei. And Shituf Mivos, you can put it even in the Chatzer itself. By the time he says the Erev, Mishum Dira. The Erev makes everybody united in dwelling. Like to consolidate all their dwelling places to be one. A person's dira only is determined by his bread, not by his wine or any other substance. Shita mavoi, the consolidation in the mavoi, ain't el l'shati v'shus ha'chatzeres. It's in order to join the chatzeres together. Chatzla beis dira, and chatz is not a beis dira anyway. You don't need bread. Zeh tam atzmo b'shuna hanachasam. The reason why they're placed differently. The Erev Shemishum Dira, and Erev, which is because of dwelling. Ain't no dam darayla b'bayis. The person only lives in a house. Hence, certainly ten Erev b'bayis tavka. That's said to put the Erev specifically in a house. The shituf shurak l'shatem v'chatzeros. Shituf, which is only to join together the yards. Dayak shemnichos b'chatz. It's enough to leave it in the chatzer. Beis Yisrael Zeb Shelo. There's a question here. Came as sof kavan achas lem. Once since they had the same purpose. Lasoson lasokun echad lasoson. Kulan, Kile, Mokamecha, they're all meant to put them in one place. Why do I need both Erev and Shituf? Bishlam Shirako Chatzel Atzma. Okay, I understand each Chatzel made an independent Erev. Shabbat Tzugim Shituf Mavi need Shituf, Kilatir Atiltum Mavi Ba Mavi, the Chatzel Chatzel. Need the Shituf in order to allow carrying the Mavi, and from Chatzel to Chatzel of the Mavi. I was just starting from Mavi, but the Shituf in the Mavi. I'm going to say Chatzel, why I need Erev Chatzel? So, Sof Kulam Mem Mokamecha. They're all in one place. Why do we need additionally an Erev in the yard? And of course, that's a question when they made the shituf with bread. Because they put it into one of the houses. Like as our minhag, we put or make an Erev for the entire city. But basically, they put the matzos in the shul. You can't make Erev chatzeros afterwards. They're all live in one place. I feel must have shituf b'yayin. Even if they put the shituf in the wine, with wine. They put in the chatzah. Which would not be effective by Erev. But they're already consolidated as one. So why do you need additional in Erev besides that shituf? Tune in tomorrow.